Ja, herzlich willkommen wieder zu einer Podcast-Folge und heute gibt es ein bisschen eine besondere Folge, denn ich habe den Malthe, ja, ich tue mich hier nur ein bisschen schwer mit dem Namen, aus Dänemark dabei. Dementsprechend wird die Podcast-Folge auf Englisch sein, das heißt, falls du jetzt gar kein Englisch verstehst, ja, einfach wieder beim nächsten Mal einschalten, die wird dann wieder auf Deutsch sein. Aber ich dachte mir, das ist zu cool, um es nicht zu machen, denn Malthe oder Malthe, ja, wie gesagt, ich tue mich schwer, ist gerade in Bali, beziehungsweise zum Zeitpunkt der Aufzeichnung war er in Bali und ja, er ist einfach ein Fulltime-Reisender momentan, macht richtig krasse Landschaftsbilder, also wirklich abartig krass. Und genau, ich möchte gar nicht zu viel über ihn erzählen, er wird es euch gleich selbst erzählen. Das Ganze war ein Skype-Gespräch, beziehungsweise halt eine Videotelefonie, das heißt, die Qualität ist jetzt auch nicht so mega gut. Wie gesagt, falls es irgendwie für dich nicht gut zu anhören ist, ja, aber wieder die nächste Folge anhören und dann, ja, würde ich sagen, steigen wir einfach direkt ins Interview ein. Willkommen zum Thatcreatorpodcast. Mein Name ist Paul Hoffmann und ich helfe Fotografen, die ready sind, endlich loszulegen und das zu erreichen, was sie schon immer wollten. Von praktikablen Tipps bis zu tiefgehenden Mindset- und Business-Strategien wird hier alles diskutiert, was dich weiterbringen kann. The secret of getting ahead is getting started. Es liegt also an dir, deine Ärmel hochzukrempeln, loszulegen und das, worüber wir hier reden, Wirklichkeit werden zu lassen. Maybe the best way is if you introduce yourself, because you're better in English and you know the best who you are.
Yeah, that's true. Well, my name is Malthe, which is a really difficult thing to say. I found out through my travels. I, I haven't really found a country where they can say it. So it's apparently this Danish sound with the A sound, Malthe. But yeah, you can also just say kind of English Malthe or something like that. That works for me also. But yeah, I do photography and I actually do a lot of weird things like creatively. I like to make piano also and do the video and I like writing. So I don't have a specific, I'm not sure where I'm going to go with everything yet, but what I'm doing right now with the Instagram is mainly the photography. That's what's carrying me so far at least. And I do a lot of travel photography and I just graduated university. So now I'm out in the world, currently on Bali. So I have like base here in Bali, then I'm traveling around. Was just like with some trips with the Indonesian tourism industry. So trying to go to some smaller, less known islands, which I really appreciate. Because being on Bali can be a little stressful as a creative. Like it's nice because you can meet a lot of people here, but it's stressful because everything has been shot 1 million times. And I'm not so much into that, tourism, just going to where everyone else has been. So yeah, I think I'm gonna focus more on exploring lesser popular destinations in the future. Actually, something I learned on this trip.
That sounds cool. So you basically do a lot of different creative stuff like playing music. You play the piano, right?
Yeah, exactly. Piano.
Yeah, but
Yeah, I'm working on right now. I'm working on like a video where I will combine like some of all the drone footage I had from this trip with my piano. So it will be like my piano music or the drone. Yeah, I hope it will be nice. We'll see.
Okay, cool. So at the moment you're basically, because I remember when we were traveling together in Italy, you were basically just graduated, and then your plan was to like try this crazy travel life where you like kind of travel all the time, like full time, and take photos and kind of live from whatever opportunity comes up. So how did that went so far? Like, did you?
Well, yeah. The thing is, I got this nice deal with like Momento Kayak. I don't know if you know about that. Where like I'm an ambassador for them, and they give me some money, and that's helped me a lot because that meant I could actually use that money to travel with also. So I didn't have to think about everything being like collaborated. And I think now I'm getting more focused on like I wanted to try to feel how is it doing this? How does it feel being on the road all the time and working from the road? And I've learned a lot about it. And now I'm trying to figure out, okay, how do I want to do it the most? I think right now I'm thinking more about like traveling a lot of the time, and then also being at home and doing other projects back home. So it will be like
Okay.
when I go somewhere, it's to do a mission, like it's to make a video, to make photos and vlogs, and then I will have some different bases. So I could maybe be living in Germany suddenly, or in New York, or I want to like have my options open. So I don't want to think. I don't think I want to like the full nomad life where you're just always in a new place. I think I want to have like different bases and then do a lot of travel projects, because otherwise I feel it gets a little lonely for me always being on the run. I like having like for me, the cool thing about all this and what I really want to try is the unique possibility to live in a lot of different cities in the world before I choose where I want to settle, kind of. So I want to feel how is it, for instance, to live here in Bali for 4 months, which is kind of what I've been doing. And then maybe next year I will come back and live here more, but maybe I will also see how is it to live in like New York for a year, or how is it to live in
Probably expensive.
Japan or so, South Korea. Yeah, that's true. That's true. That's not the same as Bali. Yeah, but I wanna have the feeling of a lot of different places. That's what I'm really fascinated with right now, because I feel you can get under the. I don't want to feel like a tourist all the time. I like getting to know things. Like here in Bali, I don't think a lot of people do it, but I think a lot more people should do it. I've learned to speak Indonesian actually.
Oh, nice.
So I'm not perfect in it right now, but I'm good enough that I can have simple conversations with all the locals, and like I can get by, which is really nice. Like it makes you be able to visit a lot of different places. Yeah, it's you should really, if you ever go to Indonesia for a longer time, try to learn it, because it's such a cool language. There's no grammar. Like it's the opposite of German. There's no grammar at all. Like you say a word and it's the same in past, present, future. It's the same for every gender. There's no genders in the subject. You don't change it. You just use the same word for everything, and you never change it in any situation.
So it's actually
Yeah,
not that hard.
no, it's. I mean, of course, there's still a lot of words, and I have to work hard to learn it.
Yeah, sure.
But I think it's one of the easiest language. Like if you're a Western person who wants to learn something from a like whole different culture, then Indonesian is the best to go for, because they speak it. 250 million people speak it on like 800, 700 different islands, and way more islands. They just have 700 different languages here in Indonesia, but they all speak Indonesian. So you can explore so much with that language, and it's so it's learnable. It really is.
Okay,
and
nice.
It's quite funny. So I just wanted to like really feel how is it living a place, and I'm probably gonna start. Yeah. Now, for instance, now I was traveling with the Ministry of Tourism here, and I've been traveling with like almost only Indonesian people, because those opportunities I only got because I learned the language. So it's like Indonesian influencers and stuff like that, and I went to these local places in Indonesia, which like no tourism in Western tourist goes to, and that gives you an opportunity to provide something new to people, share new things.
Yeah.
I get a lot of my inspiration from that.
Yeah, that's actually what I liked about your photos, like before we met in Italy, because you had those like crazy landscape photos, but they weren't like the typical like Norway.
No, exactly. No one
stuff, right? So it's like very
exactly
unique places.
I think, and I think that's why I had like I don't want to say creative depression, but when I came to Bali, I was like, what? There's something in my stomach. I'm not feeling the same passion for these photos I'm taking. I'm not as happy with them. And it's because you're comparing yourself to all the other people who were there. And like, I think deep in my soul, I'm an explorer. Like I love going places and being like, oh, what is this? Instead of being like, okay, this is the place I've seen 1 million times. Like, oh, it's kind of disappointing. Something like that, I realized somebody that I get my joy from exploring. So I think you will see in the future a lot more focus on going less mainstream places.
Yeah. I like that. Because I before we did this whole thing here, the podcast and everything, I asked my audience on Instagram if they have any questions for you. And one question I found really interesting, because it's like probably the most obvious question, but I know a little bit of your answer to that. So the question was, how do you edit your photos, basically? And now I'm sure, because I saw how you edit your photos, and it's crazy, and I'm sure like you can't answer it in one second.
And it's developed even further since then. But actually, some of the techniques you showed me, also I've worked on them and made them different now. And like I really enjoy
Maybe you can
taking
share
more
a little
things
bit.
from the portrait world.
Yeah.
Well, the thing is, I'm actually right now, one of my biggest projects right now is that I'm making a video tutorial for my editing.
Oh, nice.
So yeah, that's it's a big project I'm working on right now. So I'm really thinking a lot about how am I editing and stuff like that. And
it's interesting, right? When you start like teaching other people, you actually learn about yourself.
You do. I've been sitting there and I want to go through my entire workflow, and I've been like taking notes to like get a script of what I want to say. And I mean, I'm not gonna talk that script, but just to get an idea of what is it actually like, to make it seem manageable when I have to say it. And I get so surprised when I suddenly have to put words on the things that I do, because you start to think a lot more about what is it and why do I do it. And I think I've been learning a lot about editing just by thinking about why I do what I do and trying to put it into words. But basically, to give the short version, like my editing is very focused on contrast and how you apply local contrast and how you manipulate with light. So where do people look? I try to like guide the light somewhere. Like I don't use like I say, my editing is the opposite of a preset, because I don't use any predetermined things. I start from scratch every time. And then I try in Lightroom, I will start and I will make a pretty flat image with low contrast and everything. And then when I will put it into Photoshop and I will do all my editing in between the frequency, like I will frequency separate, and I will work in between the color and the texture, and I will work like locally to make sure every single, it's so frustrating that my hand gestures can't really be in the phone because it feels weird holding my phone while I talk. But I then I will just work, like my edits take 10 hours easily, and I will work with like every single small thing, and I will dodge and burn. So I will be just like if you were painting, I will be painting shadows and highlights and small colors in, and try to make it complement the things that are there, but to make them stand out, the things I want you to look at. So it's very local editing, you could say. I don't like to put anything on my photo that is like, and with local I mean like I will edit the different parts of the photo individually. I don't like to put any global filter on anything, so to say. I try to avoid that, because I feel like I in my editing philosophy, it makes no sense to put something on everything, because then you're not being creative. Then you're just then you're not guiding the viewer, because you're just putting something everywhere.
Mm-hmm.
It's not very creative to me. So I'm very fascinated by editing locally, and I feel that's the biggest problem with Lightroom. You can't. I mean, you can do a few things with the brushes and the filters, but you can't. There's so many things I wish I could do in Lightroom. Like, why can't you take the HSL, like the saturation and the luminance? Why can't you do that in local area? Oh, that's a sidetrack, but
So
I really like the control of Photoshop when it comes to that. I don't do a lot anymore. I don't do a lot of manipulation anymore. I actually stopped doing that at all, almost. I only control the light and the colors in Photoshop, and I might like pull in some dimensions to make something a little bigger or smaller, but I don't do a lot of manipulation anymore. Everything you see in the photos are usually like it was, and then just try to dodge and burn everywhere.
So I think it's really interesting, because when I saw your editing, I instantly realized why most people won't never get the results you get. And I think it's just because you pay, like you said, you're not like editing the photo as a whole photo. I mean, like at the end, yes, but it's
yeah.
You're looking
it's like
at
1 million
single,
small changes.
Yeah, like every single small thing, and you're spending how much time do you spend for one photo? Like
Yeah, as I said,
editing?
I can spend easily 10 hours.
10
Like if I do a quick edit,
insane.
it can be 4 or 5 hours, and
Yeah,
a longer one can be 10 to 12.
a quick
And
edit,
I wish, and
5
I want to
hours.
use more, and I want to use more time on it. And I feel so stressed sometimes when I feel like because I feel like now I have to post it. But sometimes I feel like I really just want to sit 1 week with the photo. But it's not a good thing to do that also, because you get too attached to the photo also.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay, nice. That's interesting.
Also, sometimes I will sit and edit one photo for 12 hours, and then I will delete it and start over again, or I will delete it and never use the photo and never show anyone. I think you need to have that mentality before you can do that kind of editing, where you're like, I'm editing to learn. I'm editing to discover. I'm not editing to get like a final product that I can post. I'm doing it because I really enjoy doing it. So using 10 hours is just like relaxing for me.
Yeah, and I think that's really, because like you will never be able to like teach someone in, like, I don't know, like in a call like this, for example, or like in a very short time,
No,
how you do it, because the trick how to do it is basically like enjoying the process, right?
it's zooming in 1000% and doing an edit on pixel level sometimes, and that requires some patience.
Yeah, okay. Yeah, sure. Makes a lot of sense. So what is your plan for the next month? You will go home and then trying to build those like bases everywhere in the world, and then trying to get
Well, I
jobs
can say
where you can
my
travel?
short-term plan right now is that I'm staying on Bali still, and on the 12th I'm going to Flores with the tourism board of Indonesia, and we're going to go shoot some cool places. And then I get back to Bali. I'm actually sitting today and trying to plan the next time. Then I might go to Java, which is another Indonesian island, and shoot there. They have like some incredible volcanoes. I'm not sure yet. That might happen, and then I will probably go to Thailand. I found some crazy locations by searching in Google, like, which I've never seen people post on Instagram. I'm kind of hyped about that. I want to go there, and then probably 1 month from now, I'm going back to Denmark.
Yeah.
My family misses me. I miss them. It will be nice being home. I can see all my friends. I hate Europe. Like those months are the worst. Like January and February,
Yeah.
I have to leave. Like I just have to, or I get depressed.
Because
So
because you don't like cold places, or why?
no, it's not about. It's not like, first of all, it's colder in Copenhagen than where you live. So no, I actually realized inland Germany is really cold at night. But no, it's because of the darkness.
Okay.
We have maybe 3-4 hours of light a day, and usually it's also cloudy, so you don't even see the sun. Sometimes you won't see the sun for like 2 weeks.
Mhm.
It's, I don't know. That
Yeah.
makes me sad. I want to see the sun. Also, as a photographer, it's really depressing not
Yeah,
getting
and
any light
especially for
for.
you, right? Because like you really
Yeah,
like to build this, like to use the sun as a like
yeah. For
part
me,
of your.
everything is about the light. If the light is not good, I can't. Like, and a lot of my editing requires good light. Like that's the most important thing.
What means
So
what is good light for you, or when at which times do you do it the most? Because that was one of those
yeah,
moments where I
yeah.
realized, okay, holy shit, like it's a lot more effort
Mm,
than you think it is, like just to take the photo.
exactly. The thing I just think about is like the sun goes like this, and the sun always shoots like this towards like us. So if the sun is at a low angle, which is sunset and sunrise, like it's at a low angle from you, then the light it shoots will be like, it will spread over the surface. If you imagine like the beams coming from the sun, it will spread, and that makes the light very dynamic, interesting. It hits the light different places. Some places will have more light, some will have less, and it's all very soft because it's coming from a low angle. Whereas, for instance, midday, it's 12 p.m. The sun will just shoot directly down, which means everything has the same light quality to it. Everything is washed out. The sun is very intense. that's what I call a flat photo. Like I will never shoot in that light. So I always get up early, maybe at 5. Here in Bali, there was like 1 month where I was up at 4:30 for like, yeah, almost the entire month. That was really tough.
Crazy.
But you get used to it. Yeah, yeah. And then you shoot the sunrise. And then after those, like, I will only have like 1 hour where I like the lights and only really like it in 30 of those minutes. And then afterwards, I will not shoot anything. I'll put the camera in my bag. I will relax, think about editing or something else I have to do, probably, or just relax and eat some food. And like, those are not my working hours, except if I have to work on all kinds of other projects. But it's not like a creative photography hour for me. So then it begins again 1 hour before sunset, and I only really like the light 30 minutes before sunset. So I would say for me the good light is 30 minutes before sunset till sunset, and maybe 20 minutes after sunset. So there's like 50 minutes of good light there. And sometimes you also, one thing I learned from this trip is it also really depends what kind of terrain you're in, because if you're down in a waterfall, the structure of everything will block a lot more light, and the light will come in from different angles. So it will come through bushes, or it will, like, for instance, there's the famous right terrace in Ubud. I don't know if you know it. Like, there's these famous right terraces where the light rays come in, and everyone has the light rays there, and it's very iconic. And they actually come in at 9 o'clock, those light rays, or is it 8? But it's like 1.5 to 2 hours after the sun rises.
Okay.
And I used to think, okay, the light is horrible at this time, I'm not even going to have my camera up. And it is, but then the moment the sun hits the trees and the fog, like it's very foggy, misty here, is at the right angle, then the quality of the light suddenly changes. And so I've learned there's more to it than just saying 1 hour before and 1 hour after. It depends on the terrain, the source of light. Does the light get filtered through anything? I'm really fascinated right now about exploring all the different conditions where the light is different. So if you're at a waterfall, the best light might not be just after sunrise, because you won't get any light at all there, and the water reflection makes the light better later also. But usually I will shoot between when the sun goes down and when the sun goes up. And then depending on different terrains, I might do other things.
That's really interesting, because it's actually so interesting, because I think it's this one thing, like light, that is the most underestimated. For example, when I talk about people photography, one of the things I always try to teach, but it's so hard to teach that actually, is to look at the light, to try to find good light. And I think if people would only do that, like only focus on light, and no matter,
I feel like photography is all about light.
Exactly.
And my editing is all about enhancing the light I already have. So if the light is shit, then I will only be able to, I can't edit that. I need good light, and then I can make people see, okay, this light is good, because I will complement the good light. But I would say 60 to 70% of the work is done with not even how you use the camera. It's not even like camera technique. It's just understanding where to be, when to be there, and how to point the camera into the light. It's just like understanding light. That's the most important thing and the most fascinating thing about photography and videos, because you can only chase the light. You can never have the perfect, that's what makes it so fascinating for me. You only have those 20 minutes, or sometimes it's 5 minutes because of a cloud or something, where everything is perfect and you have to be at the right place at the right time, have the right pose, have the focus perfect. That's the good photographers who understand those things. And I don't think it's different for, you will have different scenarios and different props and different ways to use the light, but it's the same for any kind of photography. It's always about the light. Especially portraits, I feel it's even more important sometimes.
Yeah, I think
I really like the one you showed when we were in Florence, where you had the wall, and you told me the wall is acting as a reflector right now.
Oh no, that wasn't.
That was really. Oh, Venice, sorry. Venice.
Yeah.
And the wall was acting as a reflector. I was like, oh yeah, that's so true. That's giving us this soft light because it's coming from this side and this side. And things like that. I started also to think about that with water, like how water acts as a reflector.
Oh, that's interesting.
Yeah, so if you're at a lake, you will have the reason why people have these amazing photos from, for instance, like Paul's Lago di Vai, is because the water acts as this amazing reflector that makes everything look cinematic. And yeah, I just started to think more and more about how objects can act as like light distributors naturally. And there's a lot of ways to do that. Yeah.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, that's interesting, and it's so interesting for me, especially because I see those like it's so similar to people photography, and that probably means that it's also similar to product photography, to whatever you shoot. Like it's always the same. It's all about the light, basically.
Yeah, of course. And if you're shooting in a studio, it's about getting the settings right for the light. If you're shooting in the natural light, it's about understanding the natural light. It's always about the light.
Yeah, and I also found that fascinating when I saw your first, or one of your first people shots, like when I saw your like the self portrait, basically. So it's so interesting because it's so good already. Like you're not a people photographer, but like you can hit it instantly. Like you don't need like a year to practice. And then
I've been taking even more portraits on this trip. I will have to share some with you later.
Yeah, sure. Yeah.
Yeah,
no,
but
and
exactly, because it's about understanding the light. It's
exactly
the key to all photography.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah,
it's the same if you're playing sports and you understand the movements of a ball, then the chances are that you will be good in many sports. Or if you just understand how your legs work, then you will also be good in many sports. For anything visual, it's understanding light. I even think if you're animating and 3D compositing, things like that, it's still like if you want to make something look good, it's about understanding light. Even digitally, it's how can we emulate light properly so it looks beautiful.
That's really interesting, actually, because it's so obvious. Like if you think about it, like of course it's light.
Yeah, it's obvious, but we kind of forget it because it's so obvious, right? So we start to think about all the other things. Oh no, it's because of all these other things. But in reality, those things are secondary. If we have the perfect light, you can do almost anything and it will look good.
Yeah, exactly. That's cool. So what would be interesting for me as well is how did the whole, I don't want to call it money thing, but like how did it work out to like find jobs and to find like collaborations? Like how did the whole life where you travel and basically get paid for it worked out for you? Did it work out, or was it more difficult, easier than you thought? Or didn't you focus on it that much?
Yeah, the thing is, it has not really been my focus because I have that one collaboration already that gave me enough money to live here. And then my focus was, how is it to be in Bali? It's the first time I've been in Asia. Like, so my focuses have been different. But of course, I have done a lot of collaborations. I found out it's crazy. If you're really opportunistic, you can do so much in life. Like also, I was like thinking about doing a road trip in New Zealand with the van, and
I can give you some tips there.
Yeah, you could. I was thinking about that actually. But I just wrote to some companies, and I got like 4 responses, and they were all like, "Yeah, you can have this van." And that's just by thinking, okay, how can I make my trip to New Zealand more affordable? And then searching for vans and making sure you have, of course, need good content for them and have a good email and website and all those small things. But in the end, it's just a numbers game. If you send out, that's how it all started with like me and one of my best friends who also do Instagram, Daniel Jensen. Check him out. He's nice. Back when we just started, and I'd never traveled with my camera. I only shot things in Copenhagen in the beginning. I had like 9,000 followers, and he had like 7,000 followers, and we just wanted to try to travel and wanted to see if it was possible. So we wrote this email draft. Probably not very good in hindsight. It was probably decent. I don't know. But we wrote this draft, and then we sent it to every single tourism board in the world, I think. Easily sent like 50 emails. So not everyone, but a lot of tourism boards. Places you would want to go. And we just got one response. And that was our first trip, and it was amazing. And that's like that one response we got was like Madeira, and it was this unknown place for many. And yeah, so it's really just about understanding that you don't need everything to go well with collaborations. You just need a few. That's all you need, and you can send a lot of emails. And it was the same with many of the things I got through photography. Just being eager, just sending out a lot of emails, and then every day when you check your inbox, it's like Christmas. You just hope there's something, and most of the time there's not, but sometimes there will be. And yeah, then it gets easier when your content is better. I think followers doesn't mean so much like when it comes to really nice collaborations, because they would see your content first of all. Like I can feel even when I'm not growing, sometimes if I can feel if my content is getting better and my portfolio is getting better, my media kit is getting better, then I will get more nice collaborations. Just because in the end, it's not about numbers; it's about what you can make.
Quality,
quality. It's about quality, not quantity.
Yeah. I think so too. Because one thing I always teach people is, like, we as photographers are in a very special moment right now, because we don't really have to build followers first to get collaborations. Because just the fact that we can create content is enough to get a collaboration. Especially if you're and probably those collaborations sometimes are paid even better than the influencer collaborations. So I think we are also about that. Right?
I think it's for sure. Like it's one of the things that I'm thinking of myself less and less as an influencer. It's like some things you can take some jobs maybe and get some influencer money, but I don't like that term. Like I want to do things that make, like if you want to be an influencer, then you should be it, not just use the term. Like so many people are like, oh yeah, I'm an influencer. I do collaborations with brands, but if you want to influence someone, you have to change their mind about something, right? You have to go out and do something. And I think, as you said, you should go always get whatever deal or whatever project you're trying to get going. It should never be because of influencing. Like it should be because of the quality of what you're going to make. It has to be, they have to say yes because, oh, that's a good idea, or oh, you can make the kind of thing we want, or that should always be why. Because if you start thinking about the other thing, then you're losing the true passion for creating.
And it's also because for you, it's like you already have, I don't know how much you have at the moment, like barely 50,000, right? Like almost 50,000 or 45?
45, 46.
Yeah. So
basically 200,000.
Yeah. And it's like if I think about how much time you spend to build this, like it's actually easier to just be a good creator and just create content that companies actually need, probably.
Yeah, and you could see, like, I had the period just after our trip, actually, where I had 3 photos in a row that hit like 12,000 likes, and you see many people with 500,000 followers who don't get that. So it's, followers in general is misleading in many ways.
Yeah. And it speaks for your quality, actually. If you get like a high engagement rate, that's basically like your photos are just good, basically.
I hope that's what it means. But also because I'm not enjoying the Instagram grind of what you can say, like commenting on people's photos. I'm not good at that. I think people sometimes think that I don't like them or something, because I maybe write 2 comments every half year or something, because I just don't enjoy Instagram as a social media. I enjoy Instagram as like a platform to share my art, and I enjoy talking with people in real life, and I enjoy meeting people, but I don't really like. It's nice being able to like communicate with people like we're doing it here on Instagram, but just like writing generic comments on people's photos and responding to generic comments, I find that's a struggle for me, because it never feels genuine to me. I never feel like I'm in true contact with a person. Like meeting people will always be way more interesting for me. I think I want to do more stuff like that also. Just meeting people in real life instead of so that I want to use most of my time in the real life, and use most of my time on Instagram sharing my things, not trying to be increasing engagement or comment pods or whatever people are doing nowadays. I have no clue actually. Then I think if what you do is good, you will eventually grow. You shouldn't try to grow because of how the system works. In the long run, you will not learn. For me, it's all about learning, you know. That's also why I'm fine if I learn something cool while editing. I found this new thing. This is cool. This is if I do this and this, then this does this. Then sometimes I will be really happy and really hyped, and I will delete the photo because it was shit. But I will be super happy the rest of the day because I explored this new technique or some technique.
Yeah. And I think at the end that's the reason why you're successful in what you do, because you just like what you do and you don't do what you don't like, and at the end that will make you more successful than like forcing anything to happen if it's just not your thing.
I think it's a really good thing in general to, like you say, that's true. Just don't use the time on the things you don't like. Like focus on what you actually enjoy, because then that will drive you forward, because you can use a lot of time on what you like it's so easy, like I said, using 10 hours editing a photo is so easy for me because I like it. If I had to use 10 hours doing something on Instagram, liking people's photos and commenting, I don't know, I just would burn out quickly. I
can relate to that. It's interesting. Cool. Okay, I think that was a really interesting, some really interesting insights, just from myself, and I hope for the listeners as well. From what I know from you, I think you gave a good impression.
That's good.
So yeah, big thanks to you. I really, really enjoyed talking to you again, because it's been a while since we have been in contact as well. So that was
it's always nice. We had some good talks in the car on the road trip, like creative talks. That's always nice.
Even though we were really, really tired and probably talked a lot of bullshit too.
Especially the last part going north. Holy fuck. That day when we woke up in Florence, drove to Venice, and then drove to the mountains, that was fucking crazy.
Without sleep, Cool. And that's when I personally realized, holy shit, this whole landscape thing can be really, really exhausting, but also a lot of fun. It wasn't like we didn't have a choice, right?
No. I also want to do a lot more portrait stuff, actually. Maybe I'll come to some German cities and shoot some portraits.
Yeah, definitely show them to me. I'm really curious.
Yeah, I will.
Okay, awesome. Cool, then thanks again, Malthe. For everyone who's listening, you will find all the links to Malthe's Instagram and all the channels he will send me afterwards. You will find them in the podcast descriptions. Definitely check him out. It's absolutely worth it. His landscape photos are worth a look, and definitely check him out. All right, then.
Thanks for listening and watching, or what people do.
Ja, dann war es auch schon wieder mit dieser Podcast-Folge. Ich hoffe, dir hat es gefallen. Ich fand das Gespräch unglaublich interessant. Ja, Malthe ist einfach ein sehr, sehr cooler Typ. Und checkt ihn auf jeden Fall mal aus. Die Links findet ihr in der Videobeschreibung. Und wenn es euch gefallen hat, natürlich wie immer eine Rezension dalassen auf iTunes, in der Podcast-App und so weiter. Und dann freue ich mich einfach, wenn du beim nächsten Mal wieder einschaltest. Und dann hören wir und sehen wir uns wieder. Bis dann.